How is Caleb now, three weeks into camp? How has he just continued to meld into this group?
Been great. I think, obviously in the spring he's learning everybody. He's learning new coaching styles. He's, obviously we've had relationships, but, getting to know each other still. Where now, you've been over my house. He knows my family. He knows, all of us, right? The player relationships are at a deeper level, So I think that there's a comfortability from that, to be able to say, okay, I know what to expect. And then obviously from a schematic standpoint, been in the system in the spring and the summer. So, there's a level of understanding that, is really, really high.
And what have you seen just in him specifically over just the last 3 weeks? Obviously he was here in the spring and stuff. It just sets him, I'm not saying sets him apart, makes him special. Obviously, he's over in preseason All-Americans.
For sure.
All this kind of stuff. What, from your vantage point, what is it?
Yeah, physically he can do it all. He can cover. He can go drop down in the box and go play physical. He can play deep. He can play man. He can play zone. He can blitz. I mean, he's versatile from that standpoint. But mentally is what's his separator. I mean, he's unique. His preparation level is unmatched. He sees it from a coach's lens. He's got to have one of the best football minds in the entire world. He's a special, special guy.
What surprised you about him?
Yeah, incredibly fast. Yeah, for him to be able to, take the entire packaging from Jim Knowles and be able to run with that and then direct traffic. It's one thing just to know it and go function and play. And if you play safety in the system, you have to be able to direct traffic. So we put the checks on those guys and run game, throw game. They have to know it all. And he's been great from that standpoint.
It's obviously a young guy in terms of age, but when it comes to experience and what he got last season playing at another high-level program, how much do you see that carry over into what he's been able to do here?
Yeah, I think it does. I think confidence is built through data, and to be able to perform at a high level in the SEC like he did and be on big stages. So I think there's an expectation of himself of, hey, I've done this before and I can do this again at an even higher level. So yeah, there's no doubt about that. I think that's helped him, and he and I, one of the projects that we did initially was to watch every single snap that he took from a year ago. So we go game by game and pretty special. I mean, though, I'll tell you guys this: the screen comes up, and you've got overlays on there. Normally, defensive calls and that kind of stuff. Obviously, I don't have their calls and things like that. Right? So all we'd have is down and distance, time, and score. The play would come up. He could tell me the defensive call and what happened on the play before the film even started. That's from over a year ago. I mean, that's pretty special when you start saying, okay, what's the mental makeup of this young man.
You guys get beyond those top with Lathan and Caleb. We got veterans there.
Yep.
You get to that next wave. What's happening there with a healthy Malik and
Jalen
the plane coming on?
Yeah, Jalen, Malik. I mean, there's been a pool of guys that have done a really good job competing this camp. I know Jim talked about it, the other day when he had his press conference with you guys of just growing the depth of the safety position. I knew that, coming here, that was a critical thing of you. Okay, you've got these guys that are battle tested at the top, but as the season goes, you got to have more than just a couple guys. So that's been a huge point of emphasis for us, putting them in different rotations throughout camp, putting a lot on their plate and holding them accountable. They've done a really good job of responding for sure.
He says that he wants to see more. It sets off, panic and alarm outside. Oh, there's not enough depth there. Do you feel that's correct, or do you feel better with what you have to work with than maybe he does?
No, I feel good with the group of guys. Right, you have to prove it on a consistent basis. So I think when he says, hey, we have to continue to grow that depth is, accountability to make sure, hey, the performance level, there's no drop off, right? I mean, that's the standard of Ohio State. It doesn't matter who's in there wearing scarlet and gray, that the expectation is for it to be the best in the country. So that's, I think, what he means from a depth standpoint of growing that position, and it's my job and our job to have those guys ready.
Would Malik be the first guy in regardless? So, where is he? Is he?
Yeah, so we've rotated those guys at different positions. You know what I mean? So I'm not a big you can only play. We call them adjuster, bandit, right? Different names, things like that. We've different places we've been. We call them different things, right? So I think it's wrong to just only know one position from that standpoint, right? So how guys are performing, you want the best players on the field. So we've cross-trained all those guys. So we've continued to grow that depth. Tim and I obviously meet together to be able to grow the depth of the entire DB pool. So that's something that's critical for us. So it's not just, hey, one guy at one position, but a group of guys, and they're competing every day to be the next man up.
What has surprised you about Caleb? Anything?
I don't know. I don't think from a surprise standpoint. I think what you've heard about and read about is, all true. And the thing that probably isn't talked about enough, he's a great teammate. You could talk about, hey, this talent or the way the guy sees the game or the play that you've seen on the field, but this is a great young man who's a great teammate. He cares about his team. He cares about his family. I mean, this is a special young man of who he is as a person.
Jalen has really seemed to rise pretty quickly through the offseason as a freshman. What has impressed you specifically?
Yeah, he doesn't act like a freshman. What I mean by that is we talk about routine a lot, and he's a guy who wanted to gain a little bit of weight when he got here in the spring. So he would be in my office at, I don't know, I'd say probably no later than 5:30 in the morning in the off season, eating 2 chicken breasts and a bowl of rice. That was his every morning. He doesn't love breakfast food, right? So that was his, hey, I'm going to make sure I'm eating breakfast. It was prepared by the nutritionist every morning, but literally 5:30 to 5:45, he was doing that every morning, So that's an example of just a maturity level and a seriousness about what he wants to get done here. So he didn't come here and waste any time. And that's our job, is to, find the guys that want it that way and the guys that have the mentality and give them the tools to be successful.
How have you seen that approach translate on the field?
Yeah, I think it's the same. It's that same seriousness. So, okay, if you're going to be that way about your diet, you're going to be that way about the playbook too, right? So whether we put him in a coverage or a blitz pattern, whatever it is, he's going to know that. Obviously, there's freshman bumps along the way. Hey, the game's moving fast, or we got a motion we didn't expect, or things like that. And it's my job to have him ready to go. But he has that seriousness. He has a real approach and a routine like a vet.
Matt, you've known Jim a long time, coached Jim for a long time. He's talked this offseason about trying to find that, striking that balance, aggressiveness, and not giving up big plays. What have you seen being back under him that maybe has changed from the first time you were here at Ohio State, or even when you guys were together?
Yeah, I think one is understanding of who we're operating with. I think that obviously our time at Duke or his time at Oklahoma State, different types of players that you're operating with, right? So the Ohio State caliber, 2 years ago we gave up too many big plays. A big growth last year from the defense here was there weren't many big plays given up, but there's times that maybe you want to knock somebody back or be able to get a stop in a critical moment, So we've been, hard on ourselves from a self-scout standpoint. And Jim can adapt. That's what, people don't talk probably enough about him, is if you look at him over the years, he can adapt to his personnel, he can adapt to a conference, and he's his hardest critic, right? So he's going to say, okay, hey, what went really well? Great, we acknowledge those things. Let's watch all the negative plays. This is the first thing we do. Hey, let's watch all the negative plays, right? And then we say, okay, where can we be better here and come up with schematics that fit our personnel, but then also attack the teams that we're trying to play.
People who know Jim or have known Jim for a long time always think of him as this defensive mastermind. Now that he doesn't have a position to coach, I assume that frees him up to kind of just dig a little deeper and kind of find different things. What has that been like to see him get back in kind of like the details of the defense?
Yeah, Jim's a great teacher first, so he is able to maybe take a step back and get into the schematics, but he's in every meeting. He runs every install. He's in position meetings all the time. You know what I mean? I think that's what he does great, is he has a feel for the players and knows, you can come with all this great scheme, but you can have so much scheme on the boards that what's really functional, right? And that's not what he does. He's able to say, okay, hey, here's schematics, here's what fits our guys, and let's be able to teach it to those guys. And he does all the installs, right? So we obviously do positionally afterwards to really get to the, ins and outs of each little specific thing, but he does a great job teaching the guys. But yeah, I think that he enjoys that role to be able to develop the entire plan and then coach the coaches, us, to be able to present it the best way.
We mentioned some of the preseason accolades that Caleb has gotten. You talk to him at all about those, or is that just something that he kind of knows comes with the expectations of being a great player? Yeah,
we don't talk at all about that. Now, all I care about is today, when he showed up into the building, the work that he put in, the mentality, what it looked like out on the field, right? That's for everybody else to talk about, right? It's about the work that we put in, and at the end of the year, then we'll gather up whatever we have and go from there, So, we don't talk about that. It's just focused on what we can control, and that's not one of the controllables that we have.
Last question. You got a lot of opportunities.
Yeah. No, you're good.
Where is the development for him now? He had the extra reps he got in the spring.
For sure.
We hear a lot about Malik and Jaden,
Yeah.
but it seems like Jaden.
Yeah, no, I've been pleased with Jaden's development as well. He brings a physical presence. You guys have seen him. He's done a good job in the spring. I thought he took steps forward. I've thought in summer and fall he's been able to take step forwards as well. You know what I mean? So, he's a guy that, and we talk about the depth of the safety room. He's another critical guy to keep developing.
Last question.
Yeah, Keenan as well. Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. No, he's done a good job. He's made some good plays. Yeah, no, he's a guy that busts his butt coming in and learning a new system. But he's I was just meeting with him before, early before meetings today.
We don't even know if he has a voice. We haven't heard of him.
Yeah. No, he's awesome. He's a great young man, awesome family, serious about his work, came here with a mentality and, wanted to be a part of the best in the country, and that's what he came here to do. But no, he's done an awesome job. Yeah, I mean, so you've got a pool of guys that when we talk about growing that depth, all those guys are at play there. Yep.
All right, Coach. Thank you.
Thanks.